This episode of Jonjo Lyons Reviews is sponsored by Last Shirt on the Left. To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's happening? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for the Spanish Chainsaw Massacre. Written and directed by Manolito Montesierra, the Spanish Chainsaw Massacre stars all of these up. A heavy metal band named the Metal are touring to promote their first record. While driving to the next concert location, their van gets a flat tire, so they have to spend the night in a small local town. The next day, the town are having a festival to celebrate their patron saint's day, and the mayor of the town asks the metal to join in with the festival. The band accept the mayor's offer, unaware of the dangers that lie ahead. You know what I love? A good chainsaw massacre. But not just in Texas. I don't need my massacre localized to the Lone Star State, although I am very much looking forward to visiting next year. Texas barbecue and chicken fried steak. I'm gonna eat myself to death there, aren't I? No, I'm more interested in the other lesser known chainsaw massacres, like the German one, or today's subject, a film destined to change the lives of many, the Spanish Chainsaw Massacre. Now, this is one of the films I was sent by Wild Eye Releasings along with The Streets Run Red earlier this year. From what I can see, this film wasn't very well received by the horror community, and I can understand why. It does have some pretty surprising violence at certain moments, but the middle drags so hard I can see why some people might have found it hard to get to that last epic 15 minutes. And this movie is so short, the fact that the audience could feel bored at any time is not a great sign. If you like your chainsaw movies full of gross out gags, goofy humour, and even a couple of deep penisings, then you're in luck. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. That's it. Go sign up if you want to get access to the uncut videos, the Discord, and the commentaries I did with my dad. Don't get excited about being able to talk to him over there, though, because he flat out refuses to join the Patreon. The guzzling shit. And if you haven't got the $2 but still like the content, please click subscribe. It's free and really helps. But anyway, I'm in the mood to witness the biggest bush in human history, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to find out how to make a movie somehow worse quality than the one where they just glued a sparkler to a chainsaw. This is the Spanish Chainsaw Massacre. The movie begins with this woman chilling with a glass of wine and watching a TV show about the Spanish village Gutierrez. Teenage Fabio then enters saying it's done and carrying a suitcase, which is comically large for the 30 grand apparently inside.
This is amazing. We can start over. I can start over.
Is it though? 30 grand? Unless you've already decided stripping is an option, which it is. Go on, Fabio, show us your. The woman asks what happened, and Fabio says it was the meth dealers in the apartment next to him.
It was those goddamn meth dealers that live in the apartment next door to me. The ones that shot my cousin Jimmy. You remember them, right?
I don't know why I find that moment as funny as I do, but I'm gonna take it. Fabio complains these obvious legends were dealing in the playground, so he decided to handle the situation himself.
I ran them over with my father's van he uses to cart around special needs kids.
What the f***?
And when I was done with them, they didn't have any special needs, because those meth dealers were dead.
Hey, movie, chill out, alright? You're being too awesome too quickly. This worries me. Fabio calls himself a goddamn hero when the woman asks him to show it to her, meaning the suitcase.
Oh, yeah.
He pops it open and the money is all neatly arranged. Even though he carried the giant suitcase in by the handle, nothing is holding the cash in place, and it should be a pile at the bottom because production couldn't get their hands on a suitably sized briefcase in time for the shoot. The couple then start kissing and we get this banger.
You're the best person I've ever met.
Shut up and me.
The woman unleashes her sumptuous sloppers and they bang while this fella comes to the window to watch. The woman notices him and smiles as Fabio really gives it his all. Suddenly the woman is on top, grinding Fabio's pelvis into a fine paste when he announces he's got a ticket to Spuff City. The woman tells him to do it and we see the window now walking in with the knife. The man then hands the woman the knife and she opens Fabio up. every time I see blood on tits, I'm reminded of an ex who told me once that the only reason I like these types of films is because I want to see blood on tits. Now every time I see blood on tits, I think, yeah, she was right. The window sits on the bed as the woman asks him if he liked that.
That was so hot.
There's something happening with this guy's face here and I can't quite put my finger on it. There's something going on.
You should probably clean up this blood.
I could. But I only got off once. And the second time.
Oh, I know. He looks like Italian Woody Harrelson. That's what it is. Woody suggests they bang in Fabio's blood, which his lady friend accepts, and he jumps on her before she teleports on top of him. Then, in a surprise to no one, she grabs the knife and brings it down on Woody, who tries to fight back, but unfortunately loses his giant tongue.
Sorry. I'm just not in the mood anymore.
Cut outside and then back in to see both men dead on the bed. The woman sips her wine looking all smug when we cut to a plane, then to this hotel sign. Inside, the woman is being led to her room by Spanish Basil 40 as he carries her ill-gotten suitcase. They then enter the room and what follows is a bizarre sequence where they obviously didn't have any mics on set that day, so any sound effect is accomplished by bad sound effects. And it's not even all the sound effects. It's like the filmmaker said we'll fix it in the edit, then got halfway through and just said F it. Like them putting on a sound for the door creaking open, but then nothing for it being shut. Not even the click of the lock. Super weird. Anyway, this scene goes on for way too long, so let's just crack on, yeah? Basil and the girl share an awkward look and he leaves. The girl opens her case, showing us she has the cash and a gun. She takes in the view from her window, then touches up her makeup in the bathroom. She then hears a noise on the other side of the wall and someone breathing. There's a knock at the door, which she takes 1 billion years to answer, finding Basil, who hands her a bunch of towels. He tells her to shush, which is funny because they don't have any mics on set. They then just continue to stand there until Basil backs out of the room and Tits McGee closes the now silent door. She goes back into the bathroom again, this time for no reason at all, then sits down on the bed. The phone rings and she answers, hearing the same breathing she heard through the wall. She slides along the wall when we see an eye through this weirdly placed glory hole. Basil rushes in and starts taking pictures. The fella on the other side of the wall gets in through this slit in the wall he just cut, then removes the girl's pretty little head. Yeah, that's the last time we see any of those characters. I'd like to think she travelled to the village she saw on the TV, and that's what connects this segment to the rest of the film, but there's no evidence to suggest that other than that one shot of the TV, so whatever. Cut to the opening credits and then to this mucky pup running through the woods. She takes a break at this tree where she's clocked by this fella and then gets her head beaten right the f*** in. Good lord, her face looks like a stepped-on tomato. Poor. Cut to the studio as this band rocks out. We then get to see what their names are, being introduced to Rasputin, Petey, Tourette, Penny Pussy, and the drummer Bull. Also, ratings to Penny for that extremely long and thick pubic hair poking out of her jean shorts there. That's the type of hair I could see getting caught in my throat, if you know what I mean. The engineer stops them to go again, which the band kicks off about before starting take 69. Cut to the band's manager being shouted at by this bloke because the band took 69 takes. He's invested money in the band and seems to regret that decision. He says he's devised a plan B to see a return on investment. The metal are going on tour. Cut to the tour bus where everyone is doing drugs, including the pregnant Penny. Petey complains about her massive bush, calling it a punch to the eye, but she tells him to shut up, saying he didn't have a problem with it the other day when he f***ed her ass. Then there's a joke about everyone in the band having done the dirty with Penny and not knowing who the father of the baby is. In the front, Rasputin and the manager fight over the radio. Cut to these two arguing in the street. Apparently the man is leaving the woman and she threatens to go back to the brothel so she doesn't have to old fogies like him. The band then drive past, mooning the pair, and we never see them again. Back inside the van, Rasputin is fully himself off in the front seat next to the manager. The manager complains about this when Rasputin arrives, covering the interior in his lumpy love custard. Oh my god, the sheer volume! Hey Dad, what do you think?
I approve.
Cut to sometime later as Rasputin moans at the manager saying the road he's taking them down is going to get them a flat tire. Then right on cue they get a puncher, so the band have to push the van to the nearest town. Here they're met by this fella who welcomes them as the manager introduces himself in the band. The man is overjoyed with artists being in the village, saying they haven't had any since the Butthole Surfers came to town. The manager asks for help with the flat tire and the man says old Tavori will fix it for free, but he doesn't arrive until tomorrow. For the time being, the band can stay at his inn.
No os preocupéis. Mañana vais a salir por la puerta grande.
Ay, qué paño más mago que arriba tiene, ¿eh?
Yeah, he is a great guy. I'm sure everything's gonna be fine. Cut to the next morning with the same exact shot from the TV we saw earlier as these two are woken up by the festival outside. These two are noshing each other off and Penny is passed out with a needle hanging out of her arm. Cut to the guy who rocked the Woodswoman's world, passing this fella Bruno and getting a talking to about how important today is.
Te recuerdo una cosa. Hoy es un día muy importante. Y no quiero que vayas por ahí haciendo tonterías de las tuyas.
He sends him away and is then joined by the band.
Permitidme que me presente. Bruno Gutiérrez, el alpargata. ¿Qué va a hacer, señor alpargata? Amareo.
The manager inquires about where they might be able to get some food and Bruno takes them outside. Also, you can see Rasputin's bollock hanging out through the hole in his jeans and that's pretty funny. He explains today is very special and assures the manager they'll get the van sorted before introducing the mayor, Boris Johnson. He greets the artists and invites them to join the festivities, but the manager says they really need to go. The band press him to party instead, and so without very much persuasion, the manager relents, saying yes, but only for a little while. Bruno tells them to have a good time and they all set off as we cut to Petey asleep in bed. He's woken up by someone knocking on the door who he discovers is rip my own off and scream help me please into it like a cell phone hot. She sits on the bed and the two chat with the woman asking if Petey wants to He's down to clown but wants her name first, so the woman introduces herself as Spain's bitch.
Me llama la puta de España.
¡Hola ahí! ¡Claro que sí! ¡Hola tus padres de ahí!
Outside, everyone is having fun, which you can always hear but never see. You know, it's strange. The crowds of people and the fireworks are always just out of frame. I wonder why they didn't shoot it. It sounds like a good time. The manager asks Rocco's modern life what this fella is building a cross for, but he just shouts no and they're interrupted by Bruno. Bruno again reassures the manager that the van is being worked on, then continues to shout at the bald fella. Again, the manager asks what the cross is for, and so Bruno tells him of the festival's origins. So apparently one day a bunch of militia came to town, attacked the people, and the saint was stripped of his holy cross and dragged downhill. This bag-headed thunder then stumbles around, gets whipped, and has stones thrown at him. The family were all brutally murdered, and now they hope for the arrival of a new saint.
Hemos estado esperando ansiosos la llegada del nuevo santo. Dios por fin será bendecido y llevado de nuevo a la cruz.
Back in the present day, Bruno hears the children and says their celebration is about to begin. The manager then sees the band are missing. Bruno says to let them have fun, and we cut to Penny rolling a zoot with weed she's finding in her giant bush while shitting her brains out. An unseen individual starts to peep in on Penny, who invites them to watch pushing out another log of shit. Cut back to PT and Spain's bitch's lips as the pair start to get down to business. Seriously, check out those beef curtains. They're biting down on the underwear like a soldier bites down on a bit of wood when he's getting stitched up in the field. PT continues to chat shit as she makes her way down south, and then we cut to whatever the f is going on here. Rocco then pops in asking where his chocolate is, and the chef him off before asking where the bitch is. Cut to Rasputin chilling when this woman gets his attention and he follows. The woman leads him round the back of the village, and we cut to this fella tied to a tree and a clown with blue hair in a Spider-Man costume. The tree fella continues to curse out the crowd as our blue-haired friend entertains the kids in the audience. The clown then puts his Spider-Man mask on the tree man and beats his head in with a stick. Good lord, was there anything inside that guy's head other than blood? Cut back to Rasputin as he catches up with the woman and gets straight to the point.
Por querer, yo lo que quiero es follarte.
She asks if her cousins can come and these two appear looking ready for a party. Rasputin isn't exactly a fan of their involvement and says as much when the woman reveals she's actually Harvey Dent with one side of her face being completely which, if I'm honest, isn't a deal breaker. Still got an arsehole, ain't ya? Rasputin is shocked at first but comes round to the idea as soon as Harvey pops his in her mouth and we cut back to Spain's bitch about to do the same to Petey. That is until he farts in her face, she decides she's feeling a bit peckish and bites his clean off. I don't think I like her anymore. Next, Spain's bitch picks up the man's guitar and starts stabbing it into the gaping wound where his used to be. We then cut to Rocco getting his chocolate. For the YouTube viewers, what we're seeing here is the chef spray diarrhea into a bucket and all over Rocco from between his knees. Somehow. Cut outside as Tourette asks Bull if he's seen the others and then to these two lads tied to a tree and having a great time. The games are about to begin as these two are told the ones who eat the most wins. The ref then splits the boys open with some seamless CGI blood and the competitors have at it, messily eating the boys' intestines. The man wins and we cut to Tourette aimlessly walking around the village, then to the manager shouting at Bull. Bruno tells him to stop and offers him a taste of something, but the manager declines, then asks about the van. Yes. Yeah, I thought that might happen. Hey, manager, just drink a lovely cup of chocolate and try to relax. The manager instead presses Bruno until Rocco takes Bull away and the host goes on even more about this house village, saying that they have the best chefs in the world. Cut to Chef and his furry friend where they have Penny tied to a cross. The chef calls out to the child from the start and asks if she remembers a time when something happened and now someone can't sit down or something. He advises she do that but with more bitchiness, whatever that means, and so the child starts punching the out of Penny's pregnant belly. She then fingers the belly button until she gets inside, pulls Penny's guts out and then removes her baby. Thank God that baby's made out of paper mache. If that was a normal flesh and blood baby, that procedure might have made it a little bit poorly. They're then joined by Rocco and Bull, who doesn't look too impressed. Genial. Cut to this pink lady giving this woman a nasty looking manicure. This fella comes in and shouts at her and then we cut back to Tourette still walking about. He takes a look in this room and discovers these two lovely boys chowing down on their favourite people bits. They see him, so Tourette takes off running as we cut to Bull in the bar. We then see the bad guys are packing a chainsaw as the ref tells the lady in pink to get clean cuts for the chef. She starts revving her engine as we cut back to the manager, now fully on his own. And here's where we start cutting around the madness. Rasputin with his friends getting cut the up, the zombies, Bull getting chopped up in the bath and Tourette being force-fed guts by this woman. Harvey then forces a screw through Rasputin's and cuts it off with scissors before eating it. You know, it's funny. You spent ages waiting for one bus to come and then someone cuts your dick off and eats it. If I had a nickel. Cut to the manager leaving the church when Bruno invites him to see the procession, which seems to feature a very beaten up Tourette as their patron saint. Bruno then introduces the manager to the madness and he is not a fan. He asks where his boys are and Bruno tells him to take it easy. The villagers then pick Tourette up and carry him over to a cross which they attach him to. The manager threatens to call the police, so everyone chases after him before stopping and shouting at each other for a bit. Cut to sometime later as the investor calls the manager and Rocco answers. Rocco allows the manager some final words and then Pink appears with the chainsaw. Unfortunately, they can't get it going, so Rocco takes the manager out the old-fashioned way, bursting his head like a balloon. Well, that was terrible. I mean, I loved it, obviously, but that was terrible. The Spanish Chainsaw Massacre is a filthy, in-your-face little splatter movie that manages to both impress and disappoint in equal measure. The film definitely had its moments and was able to conjure an audible gasp or two from me, but that paired with the middle section that felt like it went on for an eternity made for an uneven experience. The story is simple enough, with a group of people stopping off in a town full of killers and being dismembered one by one. Very 2000 Maniacs, or 2001 Maniacs if you're nasty. Where this film takes a detour is in the opening 18 minutes. I didn't bother to mention this in the breakdown, but the film actually opens with a 3.5 minute long trailer featuring a load of Spanish splatter movies I'm assuming are from the same production company. I don't know. Wherever they're from, I've got to admit I want to see all of them. Then we have that bizarre section with Fabio and Tits McGee. As I said, this seems to connect to the main story by having the woman watching a show about the village, but that's about it. It ultimately leads nowhere, making it clear why it was included. The runtime. The actual Spanish Chainsaw Massacre is only 56 minutes long without that section, so I guess they felt they needed to get it over an hour. Then they needed that extra 3.5 minutes, so added the trailer. I only say this because the trailer isn't a separate chapter on its own, it's actually part of the runtime, and I think that's ridiculous. Onto the characters, and the performances range from middling to terrible. The band members are all obnoxious and over the top, with Penny, Pussy and Rasputin being the worst. Then there's the bug-eyed manager, whose comedic performance is exactly the type that makes me want to eat my own head in an effort to escape the experience. The town people are fine for what they are, a bunch of screaming psychopaths, so there isn't really much to report there. Once again, as with the German Chainsaw Massacre, we lack any sort of main villain. Maybe one in a mask with a diminished mental capacity? No? Fine. Next is the gore, and boy howdy do we get some brutality in this one. Of course none of it looks convincing, but you can see that there was a lot of effort put into producing some pretty gnarly effects. Rasputin's castration was especially hard to watch, but at the same time Harvey's messed up face looked like someone just rubbed porridge on her, so it's up and down. I think I could have done with a bit more chainsaw action, but as it is, when the gore was happening I was having a good time. Presentation wise, the film is fine enough. The sound and editing are passable, with nothing standing out as truly terrible. I've recently been making Camp Blood review videos for the Patreon, so trust me when I say it could have been a lot worse. One thing I did quite like is the color grade in the main story. It gives the film a kind of western feeling that I quite liked, but that's about it. All in all, the Spanish Chainsaw Massacre is good for what it is. Some annoying characters and a boring middle section do bring the film down in terms of enjoyment, but when it gets good, it becomes something I definitely recommend. This story has been told many times in the past, so don't go in looking for any surprises, but if you love low budget splatter, then why not add this massacre to your watch list? Just whatever you do, please don't drink the chocolate. So that was my review of the Spanish Chainsaw Massacre. What do you lot think? For all of its flaws and that dry as middle section, I actually had a lot of fun with this one. Especially with the gore. Yeah, they might not be the most convincing effects in the world, but they gave it a good go and covered everyone in enough blood to make me happy. And both penis removals, especially Rasputin's, were savage. Speaking of which, if you want to see the manager's head get popped like a balloon completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review, plus others with more stuff being added all the time. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, slasher comic breakdowns, and the Discord. Not to mention the Patreon exclusive commentary video I did for this movie with Jake, and Human Centipede 2 and Slaughtered Vomit Dolls with my dad. And all that can be yours for as little as $2 a month. And if you want to get your hands on this sick Last House on the Left inspired tee, make sure to check out Last Shirt on the Left. Last Shirt on the Left are a horror clothing company specializing in some of the sickest designs based on all of your favorite horror movies. One of their newest drops is this awesome Quarto design that they've called Open Your Mind. And if you use the promo code Jonjo, you get 10% off of your order. That's promo code Jonjo for 10% off. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons and I like Penny. She seems fun. Although, I bet underneath all that pubic hair, her pussy looks like the back of someone's head after they stuck a gun in their mouth. Still would. Still would.